Imagine standing outside a store, staring at the thing you want most through the glass. You can see it clearly, every detail illuminated under the soft glow of the display lights. You desire it with every fiber of your being, and yet, as long as you remain on that cold sidewalk, separated by that transparent barrier, it will never be yours. This is how most people practice visualization. They are what Wallace D. Wattles would call mental window shoppers, people who gaze longingly at the life they want, but never actually reach out to claim it. They believe that wanting something intensely is enough, that the universe will somehow respond to their longing and deliver their desires to their doorstep. But Wattles taught something radically different, something that separates those who dream from those who possess. The universe does not respond to people who merely look. It does not reward those who stand outside with their noses pressed against the glass. It responds, with absolute certainty and swiftness, to those who take. There is a specific mental action, a deliberate act of consciousness that Wattles called seizing. And when you learn to perform this act correctly, it instantly transfers ownership of wealth from the infinite storehouse of the universe directly to you. The pain you feel right now, if you are honest with yourself, is the pain of separation. It is the quiet agony of seeing wealth in your mind, of visualizing the life you desire, and yet feeling an unbridgeable chasm between where you stand and where you long to be. You have done the exercises. You have closed your eyes and imagined the bank account, the house, the freedom. And yet, when you open your eyes, the gap remains. The money has not appeared. The circumstances have not shifted. And slowly doubt begins to creep in like fog through an open window, whispering that perhaps this does not work for you, that perhaps you are doing something wrong, or worse, that perhaps you are simply not destined for abundance. This feeling of separation is not a sign that the laws of mind are false. It is a sign that you have been taught the wrong approach entirely. We have been conditioned, from childhood, to be polite with the universe. We are taught to wait patiently, to hope quietly, and to never presume too much. We are told that wanting too much is greedy, that claiming prosperity is arrogant, and that the virtuous path is one of humble supplication. But Wallace D. Wattles taught the exact opposite. He declared with the force of absolute conviction that you must not merely think about the money, you must mentally take it. The formless substance, the infinite intelligence that underlies all creation, is not impressed by your politeness. It does not respond to hesitation or timidity. It is waiting, even now, for you to step forward and claim your property. The universe has already prepared your abundance. The question is whether you will reach out and seize it, or whether you will continue standing on the sidewalk, waiting for someone to open a door that only you can unlock. The promise of this teaching is nothing less than liberation from the prison of wanting. Today you will learn what Wattles called the law of possession, the mental technology that allows you to cross that glass barrier and seize your fortune so firmly, so completely, that physical reality has no choice but to deliver it into your hands. This is not wishful thinking. This is not affirmation without substance. This is the precise mechanics of how consciousness shapes matter, how the mental image held with unwavering purpose becomes the physical fact. By the end of this teaching, you will understand why some people visualize for years without results, while others seem to manifest their desires almost effortlessly. The difference is not luck, not talent, not worthiness. The difference is this single mental act of appropriation that you are about to learn. What we are about to undertake together is not a minor adjustment to your thinking. It is a fundamental shift from passive observation to active ownership, from being a spectator of your desires to being the possessor of your fortune. Most teachings on manifestation leave you in a state of hoping, a state of waiting, a state of gentle expectation that someday, somehow, your desires will materialize. But this teaching will take you somewhere far more powerful. It will take you to the place where you no longer hope for wealth, because you already own it in the only realm that truly matters, the realm of consciousness, where all physical things must first take form before they can appear in the world you call real. Here is the pact I offer you today. In this video, you will learn the critical difference between desiring and appropriating, two mental states that feel similar but produce radically different results. You will discover the precise three-step method that allows you to seize your wealth in the mental realm right now. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are right, but in this very moment. You will understand why the timing of physical manifestation is irrelevant when you hold the title deed to your fortune in the chambers of your mind. And you will learn to walk through your days with the quiet confidence of someone who has already secured the asset, even as the world around you has not yet caught up to your inner reality. This is not theory. This is the practical application of Wallace D. Wattles' most profound teaching, stripped of vagueness and delivered with the precision you need to actually change your life. But I must warn you of something, and this warning is so important that I will save its full revelation for later in this teaching. There is a subtle mental habit, so ingrained in most people that they do not even notice it, that acts like a return receipt on your cosmic order. It takes the wealth you have just claimed and hands it back to the universe, cancelling the transaction before it can manifest. This habit masquerades as virtue. It disguises itself as humility, as realism, as being reasonable. But it is, in truth, the single greatest killer of ownership, and until you identify and eliminate it, your manifestations will continue to slip through your fingers like water. I will reveal this ownership killer in Part 4, and when you see it clearly, you will understand why your past efforts may have fallen short. For now, if you are ready to stop being a window shopper and start being an owner, write in the comments below, "It is mine." Let these 3 words be your signature on the cosmic contract, your declaration to the formless substance that you are no longer asking. You are claiming. The universe is listening. Sign the paper. Wallace D. Wattles delivered an instruction that, when truly understood, changes everything about how you approach the creation of wealth. He wrote with the precision of a master craftsman that you must form a clear and definite mental image of what you want, and you must hold this mental image with the unwavering purpose to have it. Notice the language he chose. He did not say you must hold the image with the hope of having it. He did not say you must hold the image with the desire of having it. He said you must hold it with the unwavering purpose to have it, a purpose so firm, so absolute, so unshakable, that the question of whether it will manifest does not even arise in your mind. This is not passive visualization. This is not daydreaming about a better life. This is an act of mental appropriation, and until you understand what appropriation truly means, you will continue to stand outside the store, looking through the glass. The word appropriation carries a weight that most people miss when they first encounter it. To appropriate something means to take it for your own use, to claim it as your property, to make it belong to you. It is an active verb, a verb of possession, a verb of ownership. When a government appropriates funds for a project, it does not merely wish for the money, it allocates it, designates it, takes control of it. When you appropriate wealth in your consciousness, you are performing the same decisive action in the mental realm. You are not hoping the wealth will come to you. You are not waiting for permission from the universe. You are reaching out with the hand of your mind and taking hold of what is rightfully yours, declaring by that very act that the transaction is complete. Consider the difference between seeing something and occupying it. You can see a beautiful house from the street. You can admire its architecture, appreciate its gardens, imagine how lovely it would be to live there. But seeing is not occupying. When you occupy a house, you move through its rooms, you sit in its chairs, you cook in its kitchen, you sleep in its beds. You make decisions about where to place the furniture, what color to paint the walls, how to arrange your life within its spaces. Occupation is intimate. Occupation is personal. Occupation is ownership in action. Wattles taught that this same principle applies to the mental image of your wealth. It is not enough to see the money in your mind's eye. You must occupy it. You must mentally live in the new house, walk through its hallways, feel the morning light streaming through its windows. You must drive the new car, grip its steering wheel, hear the sound of its engine responding to your command. You must spend the new money, make decisions about its use, feel its weight and presence in your life. This is what separates appropriation from mere visualization, and the distinction could not be more critical to your success. The person who merely visualizes is a tourist in the land of wealth. They visit occasionally, take some pictures, admire the scenery, and then return to their familiar home of lack. But the person who appropriates is a resident. They have unpacked their bags. They have changed their address. They have made the land of wealth their permanent dwelling place, and even if the physical evidence has not yet caught up to their inner relocation, they know with absolute certainty that they are home. The formless substance responds to residency, not tourism. It gives title to those who occupy, not to those who merely visit. Think of it this way. When you see a movie about wealth, you observe wealthy people doing wealthy things. You watch them from the outside, as a spectator watches actors on a screen. But when you appropriate wealth in your consciousness, you are not watching a movie. You are starring in one. Better yet, you are not starring in a movie at all, because movies are fiction. And what you are doing is living a reality that the physical world has simply not yet caught up to. You are inside the experience. You are the one feeling the emotions, making the decisions, living the moments. This is why Wattles emphasized the word have with such force. You must hold the image with the purpose to have it, not to see it, not to admire it, not to wish for it, to have it. Present tense, possession complete, ownership established. Let us go deeper into what it means to make something your own property in consciousness. Property is not merely a physical concept. Before there were courts and deeds and legal systems, property was established by use and occupation. The first humans did not file paperwork to own a cave. They lived in it, defended it, made it their home, and by that continuous occupation, it became theirs. The mental laws of wealth operate on this same ancient principle. When you occupy a state of wealth in your consciousness continuously, when you live in it, breathe in it, make decisions from it, you are establishing ownership by the most fundamental law there is, the law of possession through occupation. But here is where most people fail, and why the teaching of appropriation is so rarely understood in its full power. Most people visualize from the outside. They create a mental image and then watch it, as if they were watching a television program about someone else's life. They see a version of themselves on the screen who has money, who drives nice cars, who lives in beautiful homes. But they, the observer, remain outside the image, separated from it by the invisible fourth wall of consciousness. This is window shopping of the most subtle kind. You can watch a television show about wealthy people every night of your life and never become wealthy. Because watching is not being, observing is not possessing, seeing is not having. The act of appropriation requires you to step into the image, to become the figure you are watching, to dissolve the barrier between observer and observed. When Wattles instructed his readers to form a clear and definite mental image, he was not suggesting they create a picture to look at. He was instructing them to create a reality to inhabit. The clarity he demanded was not the clarity of a photograph, but the clarity of lived experience. A photograph is flat, external, something you hold in your hand and examine from the outside. But lived experience is dimensional, internal, something you move through and feel from the inside. Your mental image of wealth must have this quality of lived experience. It must be so real to you that you do not observe it. You inhabit it. You do not admire it from a distance. You live within its walls. Consider the practical implications of this principle. When you close your eyes to visualize your wealth, what position are you taking? Are you watching yourself from across the room, like a director watching an actor perform? Or are you seeing through your own eyes, feeling through your own hands, experiencing through your own senses? The difference is everything. The director may appreciate the performance, may even be moved by it, but the director does not live the role. Only the actor, fully immersed in the character, experiences the reality of the scene. In your visualization practice, you must not be the director of your wealthy life. You must be the actor so absorbed in the role that you forget you are acting at all. This brings us to an even deeper truth about appropriation. It is not a technique you perform for a few minutes each day and then set aside. It is a continuous state of consciousness that you carry with you through every waking moment. The person who appropriates wealth does not visualize for 20 minutes in the morning and then spend the rest of the day feeling poor. That would be like moving into a new house for 20 minutes each morning and then returning to your old apartment for the remaining 23 hours and 40 minutes. You cannot establish residency on a part-time basis. Either you live in the state of wealth or you visit it occasionally. The universe can tell the difference. and it responds accordingly. What does it feel like to truly appropriate wealth? It feels like certainty, not the certainty of arrogance, which is loud and needs to prove itself, but the certainty of ownership, which is quiet and needs no validation. When you own something, truly own it, you do not spend your days hoping you still own it. You do not wake up wondering if your ownership is valid. You do not seek reassurance from others that your property is really yours. You simply live in the quiet knowing that what is yours, and you conduct your life from that unshakable foundation. This is the feeling you must cultivate regarding your wealth. It belongs to you. The transaction is complete. The deed is signed. All that remains is for the physical world to deliver what consciousness has already claimed. Wattles understood that the formless substance, the intelligent energy from which all things are made, responds to this state of appropriation like water responds to a container. Water does not argue with the shape of the vessel that holds it. It does not resist or struggle or ask questions. It simply fills the form it is given. The formless substance operates by the same principle. It does not judge your worthiness. It does not evaluate whether you deserve what you are claiming. It simply fills the shape of your consciousness. If your consciousness holds the form of wealth, not as a distant hope, but as a present possession, then the formless substance flows into that form and takes its shape. This is the science of appropriation, as precise and reliable as any law of physics. But you must grasp the full implications of what Wattles is teaching, because partial understanding produces partial results. When he says you must hold the image with unwavering purpose, he means exactly that, unwavering. Not wavering most of the time, but steady occasionally, not firm in the morning, but doubtful by evening. Unwavering means constant, continuous, unbroken. The moment you waver, the moment you slip back into hoping instead of having, you have released your grip on the property you were claiming. You have stepped back onto the sidewalk. You have returned to window shopping. And the universe, which was preparing to deliver your order, receives the signal that you have cancelled it. This is why appropriation is not for the faint of heart. It requires a kind of mental discipline that most people have never developed. It demands that you hold a truth in your consciousness, even when the evidence of your senses seems to contradict it. It asks you to feel wealthy before you see wealth, to know you are rich before the bank account confirms it, to live in the mansion before the keys are in your hand. This is not denial of reality. It is the creation of reality. It is understanding that consciousness is primary and physical manifestation is secondary, that the inner determines the outer, that what you appropriate in mind must eventually appear in matter. So let this be your foundation. Appropriation is not visualization. It is not imagination. It is not hoping or wishing or wanting. It is the decisive mental act of making something your own property in consciousness, of occupying the state of wealth so completely that you no longer observe it from the outside, but live within it as your natural home. When you master this single concept, you have grasped the key that unlocks the vault. Everything else in this teaching builds upon this foundation. Everything else is method and technique for achieving this one result. The complete and unwavering appropriation of your fortune in the only realm where it can first exist, the realm of your own mind. Now let us establish the unshakable logic that proves why appropriation works, because faith without understanding is fragile, but faith built upon reason is indestructible. Consider the concept of a title deed, that document which in the legal world establishes beyond doubt who owns a piece of property. When you hold the title deed to a house, your relationship to that property is fundamentally different from someone who merely admires the house or wishes they owned it. You do not hope you own it. You do not beg to own it. You do not wake up each morning wondering if it still belongs to you. You know with the quiet certainty of documented fact that the house is yours. Even if you are not standing inside it at this moment, even if you are 1,000 miles away, even if you have never visited the property since the day you signed the papers. This knowing is what transforms everything. The person without the deed may drive past the house daily, may fantasize about living there, may visualize every room in perfect detail, but their visualization, no matter how vivid, does not give them the right to enter. The person with the deed may never have seen the property in person, may have only examined photographs, may have a vaguer mental image than the fantasist who drives past every day. But the deed holder can walk up to that house, unlock the door and live there, because they possess what the fantasist lacks: legal ownership, documented and undeniable. Your clear mental image of wealth, held with unwavering faith and purpose, is precisely such a title deed. It is not a wish, it is not a hope. It is documentation of ownership in the realm where all ownership begins. Think carefully about what happens when you hold a title deed. You begin to act differently toward the property you own. If you own a house, you start making plans for it. You think about renovations you might make, furniture you will buy, how you will use each room. You might not take these actions immediately. Perhaps you need to wait until the current tenant's lease expires, or until you save money for the renovations. But you make plans as an owner, not as a visitor. You do not seek permission from others to imagine changes to your property. You do not wonder if it is appropriate for you to think about painting the walls. It is your house. Your imagination about it flows naturally from your ownership of it. This is how you must relate to your wealth. When you hold the mental title deed, the clear image, the unwavering purpose, the absolute faith, you begin to act like an owner. You do not ask the universe for permission to think wealthy thoughts. You do not wonder if you are worthy to imagine abundance. You make plans as someone who possesses, not as someone who hopes to possess. This shift in how you relate to wealth is not trivial. It is the mechanism by which the inner deed becomes the outer reality. The universe does not respond to your words, your wishes, or your visualizations as isolated events. It responds to your state of being, to the fundamental stance you take toward your relationship with abundance. And when that stance is ownership, the universe has no choice but to honor the deed. Consider the logic more deeply. Why does a title deed work in the legal world? It works because everyone agrees to recognize it. The seller agrees they have transferred ownership. The buyer agrees they have received it. The government agrees to enforce the arrangement. The neighbors agree to respect the boundaries. This collective agreement is what gives the piece of paper its power. Without the agreement, it would be meaningless, just ink on paper. But with the agreement, it represents a binding reality that can be defended in court, passed down through generations, and relied upon absolutely. The mental title deed works by a similar principle, but instead of depending on the agreement of people, it depends on the agreement of consciousness and the formless substance from which all things are made. When you hold your mental image with unwavering faith and purpose, you are signing an agreement with the universe itself. You are declaring, "This wealth is mine. I accept it. I take possession of it. I agree to receive it." And the formless substance, which operates by laws as precise as any legal system, recognizes this declaration and begins the process of manifesting your property in the physical world. Your faith is your signature. Your purpose is the notarization. Your unwavering holding of the image is the filing of the deed in the cosmic courthouse. But here is where the analogy reveals something crucial about why so many people fail to manifest their desires. In the legal world, if you sign a deed and then tear it up, the transaction is void. If you file for ownership and then write a letter saying you changed your mind, you cancel your claim. This is exactly what happens when people visualize wealth but then immediately fall into doubt, worry, or feelings of unworthiness. They sign the deed in their morning meditation, and then they tear it up by afternoon through their thoughts and feelings of lack. They file for ownership when they feel inspired, and then they cancel the claim when they feel discouraged. The universe receives conflicting signals and can only respond to the predominant instruction it receives. The requirement for unwavering faith is not arbitrary. It is not some cruel test the universe imposes to make things difficult. It is simply the nature of how consciousness interfaces with the formless substance. Just as a title deed must be intact and unchallenged to convey ownership, your mental claim must be intact and unchallenged to convey your desires into physical form. Every doubt is a tear in the deed. Every worry is a challenge to your claim. Every feeling of unworthiness is a letter to the cosmic courthouse attempting to void the transaction. This is why Wattles emphasized unwavering purpose so strongly. He understood that the mechanics of mental creation require consistency and conviction. Now let us extend the analogy to understand how the delivery of your wealth actually works. When you hold a title deed to a property, you do not usually acquire the property the instant you sign. There is a process. The deed must be recorded. The previous owner must vacate. Arrangements must be made for your occupation of the property. Sometimes this process is quick. Sometimes it takes weeks or months. But the outcome is never in doubt, because the legal machinery has been set in motion, and as long as the deed remains valid, the property will become yours in physical fact, as surely as it became yours in legal fact the moment you signed. The same process applies to mental appropriation. When you hold your mental image with unwavering faith and purpose, you set in motion the cosmic machinery of delivery. The formless substance begins to arrange circumstances, to move people and events, to create opportunities and openings through which your wealth will flow into your physical possession. Sometimes this process is rapid, sometimes it unfolds over weeks or months. But the outcome is not in doubt as long as you do not void the deed through doubt or wavering. Your job, once you have signed the mental deed, is not to worry about how delivery will occur. Your job is to maintain the validity of your claim by keeping your faith strong and your purpose unwavering. This is where most people lose their wealth before it ever arrives. They sign the deed, and then they spend all their time wondering how the delivery will happen. They visualize the money, and then they torment themselves asking where it will come from. This is like signing a title deed to a house and then calling the courthouse every hour to ask when the keys will arrive. It betrays a fundamental lack of trust in the system, a lack of trust that, in the mental realm, actually degrades the validity of your claim. The person who truly knows they own the property does not obsess over the details of delivery. They trust that the legal system will perform its function, that the keys will arrive when the process is complete, and that their ownership is secure regardless of the timeline. You must develop this same trust regarding your mental appropriation. Consider what it means to act like the owner. When you own something, your behavior changes in ways both large and small. You carry yourself differently. You make decisions differently. You relate to the world differently. A person who owns a successful business does not walk around anxiously hoping their business exists. They go to their business, make decisions about their business, plan for the future of their business. Their ownership is so natural to them that it shapes their entire way of being in the world. When you appropriate wealth mentally, you must begin to act like the owner, even before the physical evidence arrives. This is not pretending, and it is not self-deception. It is aligning your outer behavior with your inner reality. You have the deed. You are the owner. Now act like it. Make decisions the way a wealthy person makes decisions. Carry yourself the way a person of abundance carries themselves, not with arrogance or showiness, but with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your foundation is secure. This alignment of inner and outer, of consciousness and behavior, accelerates the delivery of your physical wealth because it demonstrates to the universe that you have truly accepted your ownership. The universe recognizes the deed and hands over the keys. This is not metaphor. This is the mechanism of manifestation. The formless substance, which is infinitely intelligent and responsive, does not need to be persuaded or convinced. It does not evaluate whether you deserve wealth or whether your desire is legitimate. It simply responds to the form presented to it by consciousness. When that form is complete, when the image is clear, the faith is unwavering, and the purpose is absolute, the substance begins its work of shaping physical matter to match the mental pattern. This is law, not luck. This is science, not magic. This is the way the universe works, whether you believe in it or not. But you must be bold enough to sign the paper. This is where Wattles' teaching reaches its most challenging point, because boldness is precisely what most people lack. We have been trained to be cautious with our desires, to hedge our bets, to maintain an escape route of doubt in case things do not work out. We are afraid to commit fully to our vision, because we are afraid of the disappointment if it fails to manifest. So we sign the deed with one hand while keeping the other hand ready to tear it up at the first sign of trouble. This half-hearted approach guarantees failure, because the universe responds to the predominant signal, and a signal of doubt overwhelms a whisper of faith. Boldness means signing without reservation. It means committing to your vision completely, without a backup plan of doubt. It means declaring to yourself and to the universe that this wealth is yours, that you accept it fully, and that you refuse to entertain thoughts that contradict your ownership. This kind of boldness feels risky because we have been conditioned to see certainty without evidence as foolish. But Wattles understood that in the realm of mental creation, certainty is not the result of evidence, it is the cause of evidence. You must be certain first, and then the evidence appears. You must know you own the property first, and then the keys arrive. So let the analogy of the title deed be burned into your consciousness. You are not hoping for wealth. You are not wishing for it. You are not asking the universe to consider your request. You are holding the deed. You are the legal owner. You are waiting for nothing except the completion of a process that is already in motion. When you can stand in this knowing, unshaken by appearances, unmoved by delays, undisturbed by the doubts of others, you have mastered the mental act that seizes infinite wealth. The deed is in your hands. The signature is your faith. The notarization is your unwavering purpose. Now hold the paper steady and watch as the universe delivers what has always been yours. To perform the act of seizing your fortune correctly, you must first prepare the ground of your mind. Just as a skilled surgeon prepares the operating theater before the first incision, just as an architect clears and levels the land before the foundation is poured, you must establish the required mental state before you attempt the technique of appropriation. This state has a name, and the name is absolute entitlement. Not partial entitlement, not hopeful entitlement, not entitlement that wavers when challenged. Absolute entitlement, the unshakable inner knowing that you have every right to claim what you are claiming, that the wealth you are seizing belongs to you as surely as the air you breathe belongs to you, that no force in the universe can legitimately deny you what is yours by divine inheritance. Let us be clear about what absolute entitlement is not, because this concept is often misunderstood and distorted into something ugly. Absolute entitlement is not arrogance toward other people. It is not the belief that you are better than others, that you deserve more than others, or that others should serve you or make way for you. This kind of arrogance is actually rooted in insecurity, in a need to prove one's worth by diminishing the worth of others. Absolute entitlement has nothing to do with your relationship to other people. It is entirely about your relationship to the infinite, to the source from which all abundance flows, to the formless substance that stands ready to give you everything you can conceive. Toward the infinite, you must be bold. This is the essence of the mental preparation. You must approach the universe not as a beggar approaches a king, hoping for scraps from the royal table. You must approach it as an heir approaches their inheritance, knowing that what is being given was always meant for them, that it was set aside before they were born, that their claiming of it is not an act of greed, but an act of fulfillment. The formless substance is not diminished by your taking from it. The infinite cannot be depleted. When you claim your wealth, you are not taking something that belongs to someone else or using up something that will leave the universe poorer. You are allowing the infinite to express itself through you in the form of abundance. Consider the psychological transformation required to move from hesitation to absolute entitlement. Most people approach the idea of claiming wealth with a kind of spiritual timidity. They have been taught explicitly or implicitly that wanting wealth is somehow unspiritual, that truly evolved people do not concern themselves with money, that the desire for abundance reveals a shallow or materialistic character. These beliefs act like chains on the soul, binding you to a poverty that you mistake for virtue. But Wattles saw through this illusion. He understood that the desire for wealth is the desire for fuller life, and that the desire for fuller life is perfectly in harmony with the creative impulse of the universe itself. Drop the hesitation. This is not merely advice, it is a command from a master who understood what stands between you and your fortune. Hesitation is the enemy of appropriation. When you hesitate, you signal to the universe that you are unsure of your claim, that you suspect perhaps you do not really deserve what you are asking for, that you are half ready to accept no as an answer. The formless substance reads this hesitation and responds accordingly. It gives you exactly what you expect: partial results, delayed manifestations, wealth that comes close but never quite arrives. Your hesitation becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, proving to you that you were right to doubt, when in fact the doubt itself was the cause of the failure. What would it feel like to approach your fortune with zero hesitation? Imagine walking into a bank to withdraw money from your own account. You do not hesitate at the door wondering if you have the right to enter. You do not approach the teller apologetically, hoping they will consent to give you your own money. You walk in with the natural confidence of someone who is simply collecting what belongs to them. The transaction is straightforward. You present your identification. You specify the amount. You receive your funds. There is no drama, no negotiation, no pleading. This is the energy you must bring to your appropriation of wealth from the infinite. You are not asking for a favor. You are withdrawing from your own cosmic account. But to access this energy, you must settle the question of your worthiness once and for all. This is where the preparation becomes deep psychological work, not just mental technique. Somewhere in your past, you received messages about your worth. Perhaps you were told you were not smart enough, not talented enough, not deserving enough. Perhaps you compared yourself to others and concluded that they were more worthy of success than you. Perhaps you made mistakes that you have never fully forgiven yourself for, and you carry a secret belief that those mistakes disqualify you from abundance. Whatever the source, these beliefs about unworthiness are the primary obstacle to absolute entitlement. Here is the truth that dissolves unworthiness. Your entitlement to wealth comes from your existence, not from your achievements. You do not earn the right to breathe by performing certain actions. You breathe because you are alive and life requires breath. You do not earn the right to abundance by proving yourself worthy. You claim abundance because you exist, and existence includes the right to full expression. The Formless Substance does not evaluate your resume before deciding whether to grant your request. It does not check your credit score of past good deeds. It responds to the form presented by your consciousness, and if that form is clear and held with faith, the substance fills it regardless of what you have or have not done in your past. This does not mean that actions do not matter. Wattles was clear that efficient action is part of the science of getting rich, but your worthiness to claim abundance is not determined by your actions. It is inherent in your nature as a creative being, as an expression of the same formless substance you are drawing from. When you truly understand this, a great weight lifts from your shoulders. You no longer need to prove yourself worthy of wealth. You simply need to accept the worthiness that was always yours, that was built into the fabric of your being from the moment you came into existence. The state of absolute entitlement is not achieved once and then maintained automatically. It must be cultivated, protected, and reinforced against the constant erosion of worldly messages that tell you to know your place, to be realistic, to not want too much. Every day, the world will offer you opportunities to doubt your entitlement. Every day, circumstances will arise that seem to prove you are not meant for abundance. Every day, voices internal and external will whisper that you are reaching too high, dreaming too big, claiming too much. Against this daily assault, you must stand firm in your knowing that you are the heir, that the inheritance is yours, and that no temporary appearance can change the eternal truth of your entitlement. Consider what happens when you inhabit this state fully. Your entire relationship to the world transforms. You no longer move through life with the energy of lack, of neediness, of desperate hoping. You move with the calm assurance of someone who knows that what they seek is already seeking them, that the wealth they claim is already on its way, that the universe is not their adversary, but their partner in abundance. This energetic shift is perceptible to others, even if they cannot name what they are sensing. People are drawn to those who carry the frequency of abundance. Opportunities seem to open for those who expect them. Doors appear in walls that seemed solid, and keys materialize for locks that seemed impenetrable. Do not mistake this preparation for mere positive thinking. Positive thinking, as it is commonly understood, is a surface technique, a matter of saying nice things to yourself and hoping they will override the deeper beliefs that actually control your experience. Absolute entitlement is not a technique at all. It is a state of being, a fundamental orientation toward reality, a settled conclusion about your relationship to the infinite. When you achieve this state, positive thoughts arise naturally because they are the only thoughts consistent with your inner knowing. You do not have to force yourself to think positively about wealth. You simply cannot think otherwise, because your entitlement is no longer in question. The preparation is complete when you can face the question, do I deserve wealth? And answer without hesitation or qualification, yes, completely, absolutely, without condition. Not yes if I work hard enough. Not yes if the universe decides to be generous. Not yes, but probably not as much as some other people. Simply yes, unqualified, unconditional, absolute. From this state of settled entitlement, the technique of appropriation becomes natural and effortless. You are not trying to convince yourself of something you doubt. You are simply acting in accordance with what you know to be true. This is the ground upon which the architecture of your fortune will be built. Let us be practical about how to cultivate this state if it does not come naturally to you. Begin by examining every thought that suggests you are not entitled to wealth. Write these thoughts down. Look at them clearly. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Who told me this? Why did I accept it? In most cases, you will find that your beliefs about unworthiness were installed by other people, parents, teachers, society, who were themselves operating from their own unexamined beliefs about limitation. These beliefs were not truths you discovered through direct experience. They were viruses you caught from others who were infected before you. Once you see your unworthiness beliefs as infections rather than truths, you can begin the process of healing. Replace each unworthiness belief with the truth of your divine inheritance. When a thought arises that says, "People like me don't get rich," counter it with, "I am an expression of the infinite, and the infinite knows no category of people who are excluded from abundance." When a feeling arises that whispers, "You don't deserve this," answer it with, "My deserving is not in question. Existence itself is my qualification." At first, these counterstatements may feel forced, like affirmations you are trying to convince yourself to believe. But as you practice them, as you examine the false beliefs they are replacing, the truth will begin to feel more real than the lies it is displacing. Eventually, absolute entitlement will become your natural state, not a state you have to work to achieve. This mental preparation is not separate from the technique you are about to learn. It is the foundation without which the technique cannot succeed. You cannot seize your fortune while doubting your right to hold it. You cannot appropriate wealth while suspecting you are stealing something that belongs to others. The preparation establishes your standing, your authorization, your cosmic credentials for the transaction you are about to perform. Do not skip this step in your eagerness to get to the technique. Do not assume that your entitlement is already established and needs no examination. Take the time to root out every weed of unworthiness, every sprout of hesitation, every vine of self-doubt that might choke the growth of your appropriation. When the ground is clear, the seed you plant will grow into a mighty tree. Remember, the universe is not looking for reasons to deny you. The formless substance is not searching for disqualifications in your record. The infinite wants to express itself through you in the form of abundance. This is its nature, its purpose, its joy. Your job is not to earn this expression, but to allow it, not to prove yourself worthy, but to stop blocking the flow with your unworthy beliefs. When you step into absolute entitlement, you step out of the way of your own good. You become a clear channel through which the infinite can pour its riches into physical form. This is the preparation. This is the required state. Now you are ready for the technique that will seize your fortune from the invisible and deliver it into your hands. Now you are prepared. The ground of your mind has been cleared. The state of absolute entitlement has been established. You stand before the storehouse of infinite abundance, knowing that you have every right to claim what is inside. What remains is the technique itself, the precise method by which you reach through the glass of appearance and take hold of your fortune. This method consists of 3 steps, each building upon the last, each essential to the complete act of appropriation. Master these 3 steps, and you possess the key that unlocks any door. Miss even one, and the door remains closed no matter how hard you push. Step 1 is the mental grasp, and it begins with a fundamental shift in how you visualize. When most people visualize, they watch a movie of themselves. They see an image of their own body in a rich environment, perhaps walking through a beautiful home, or driving an expensive car, or sitting in a luxurious office. This is visualization, but it is not appropriation. Why? Because you are watching from outside. You are the audience, and the wealthy version of you is the actor on screen. No matter how vivid the movie, no matter how detailed the scenery, you remain separated from the experience by the invisible barrier of observation. You are still window shopping. You have just created a more elaborate window. The mental grasp requires you to step into the movie. You must not watch yourself in the wealthy environment. You must be yourself in the wealthy environment. Instead of seeing your hands on the steering wheel of the luxury car, you must feel your hands on the steering wheel. Instead of observing yourself in the beautiful home, you must see through your own eyes as you move through its rooms. The difference is the difference between watching someone else eat a delicious meal and tasting the food yourself. One is observation, the other is experience. One leaves you outside, the other places you inside. One is window shopping, the other is possession. How do you make this shift practically? Begin by closing your eyes and relaxing your body. Imagine the scene of your wealth. Perhaps it is money, perhaps it is a home, perhaps it is a business, perhaps it is all of these. But instead of seeing this scene as if on a screen in front of you, shift your perspective so that you are seeing it through your own eyes. You are inside your body in this scene. You are looking out from behind your own eyes. What do you see? What is directly in front of you? What is to your left and your right? What are your hands touching? What surfaces are beneath your feet? By asking these questions and answering them from a first-person perspective, you shift from observation to experience. Now engage all your senses, not just sight. Wattles understood that the vividness of the mental image is directly related to the power of appropriation, and vividness comes from sensory richness. Feel the texture of the money in your hands, the slight roughness of the paper, the crispness of new bills, the weight of a thick stack. Smell the leather of the car, that distinctive, luxurious scent that signals quality and expense. Hear the sound of your footsteps on the marble floor of your home, the solid echo that speaks of space and substance. Taste the champagne at your celebration, the bubbles on your tongue, the slight sweetness, the sense of occasion. The more senses you engage, the more real the experience becomes, and the more completely you appropriate the wealth. But sensing is not enough. You must use the things. This is the critical distinction that most teachings miss. You can imagine holding money without appropriating it. You can feel it in your hands and still feel like a visitor to wealth. Appropriation happens when you use the money, when you make decisions about it, when you spend it or invest it or give it away. In your mental image, do not merely hold the money, use it. Pay for something. Make a purchase you have always wanted to make. Feel the transaction complete. In your mental image, do not merely sit in the luxury car, drive it. Feel the engine respond to your acceleration, navigate the roads, arrive at a destination. In your mental image, do not merely stand in the beautiful home, live in it. Cook in the kitchen, sleep in the bedroom, host friends in the living room. Use it, and it becomes yours. This is what Wattles meant when he said you must take possession of it in faith. Taking possession is an action. It is not a passive state of being, but an active engagement with what you are claiming. You take possession of a house by moving in, by arranging your belongings, by making it your home through 1,000 small acts of occupation. You take possession of wealth by the same process, conducted in the realm of mind. The faith Wattles mentions is the unshakable certainty that this mental possession is real possession, that what you are doing in consciousness is not pretend, but the actual establishment of ownership that physical reality must eventually recognize and manifest. Step 2 is the language of ownership, and it addresses the words you use both in your mind and in your speech. Language is not decoration, it is creative power. The words you choose shape your relationship to what you are describing. And nowhere is this more evident than in the difference between future tense and present tense. When you say, "I will have wealth," you are placing wealth in the future, making it something that does not exist now but will exist later. This sounds like a positive statement, but it is actually a declaration of current lack. The future never arrives. Tomorrow is always tomorrow. By saying "I will have," you are perpetually postponing your ownership. The language of ownership requires present tense. I have instead of I will have. This is my car instead of I will have a car like this. I am wealthy instead of I am becoming wealthy. These statements feel false when you first make them, because your physical circumstances seem to contradict them. You look at your bank account and see that you do not have the wealth you are claiming. You look at your driveway and see that the car you are declaring yours is not there. This is where faith meets language, where the inner knowing must override the outer appearance. When you say, "I have," despite physical evidence to the contrary, you are not lying. You are speaking a higher truth. You are declaring the reality of the mental realm where your appropriation has already taken place. You are asserting the primacy of consciousness over appearance, of cause over effect. The physical world is a printout of consciousness, and there is always a delay between what is entered into consciousness and what appears on the printout. Saying, "I have," is acknowledging that you have entered the new data, even though the printout has not yet updated. It is not denial of current circumstances. It is recognition that current circumstances are the printout of past consciousness, and you have already changed the input. Practice this language religiously. When you visualize, let your inner dialogue be in present tense. This is my money. I am grateful for this abundance. I enjoy this wealth. When you speak aloud, even casually, choose words of ownership over words of desire. Instead of, "I want to be able to afford that," say, "I am one with the power that creates abundance." Instead of, "I hope I can have that someday," say, "That is available to me, and I accept it." You are not deluding yourself. You are training your subconscious mind to accept the new reality you are creating. You are signaling to the formless substance that the transaction is complete, that you are ready to receive delivery, that no further negotiation is necessary. This shift in language is more powerful than most people realize, because language shapes thought, and thought shapes experience. When you habitually speak of what you will have, your mind remains oriented toward a future that never arrives. When you habitually speak of what you have, your mind orients toward a present that is continuously manifesting. The language of ownership reprograms your mental processes at the deepest level, aligning your automatic thoughts with your conscious intention. Over time, it becomes natural to think in terms of what you have rather than what you lack, and this naturalization of ownership thinking is one of the surest signs that your appropriation is taking root. Step 3 is the attitude of the owner, and this extends the principle of appropriation from your visualization practice into your everyday life. How does a wealthy person walk? Not with arrogance, but with ease. They do not move through the world with the tension of lack, the anxiety of insufficiency, the desperate grasping of someone who fears they do not have enough. They move with the relaxation of sufficiency, the calm of security, the groundedness of someone who knows their foundation is solid. This is not about faking confidence or pretending to be something you are not. This is about aligning your external bearing with your internal appropriation. Consider how a wealthy person makes decisions. They do not agonize over small expenditures because small expenditures do not threaten their security. They do not make decisions from fear of not having enough, fear of missing out, fear of making the wrong choice. They make decisions from abundance, knowing that if one choice does not work out, there are plenty of other opportunities. This decision-making process is not the result of having money, it is the cause of having money. When you make decisions from abundance, you attract abundance. When you make decisions from fear, you attract circumstances that justify fear. Begin to carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who has already secured the asset. This does not mean strutting around bragging about wealth you have not yet manifested physically. It means an inner shift in how you relate to the world, a shift from the energy of I need to the energy of I have. When you encounter a problem, you approach it as someone who has resources to solve it, not as someone who is helpless and overwhelmed. When you see an opportunity, you evaluate it as someone who can afford to take risks, not as someone who must play it safe because they cannot afford to lose. This attitude change is subtle but profound, and others will sense it even if they cannot articulate what they are sensing. The attitude of the owner creates what might be called a vacuum of attraction. Nature abhors a vacuum, and consciousness operates by similar principles. When you carry yourself as someone who has wealth, but the physical wealth has not yet arrived, a kind of vacuum is created, a space that the universe moves to fill. The confidence of your bearing, the certainty of your movements, the ownership in your decisions. All of these create an energetic pattern that draws wealth toward you as surely as a low-pressure system draws wind. The physical wealth rushes in to fill the space created by the psychological ownership. Do not underestimate the power of this third step. Many people master the first two steps. They visualize from the inside, they speak in present tense, but they undermine everything by continuing to move through the world with the attitude of lack. They close their eyes and feel wealthy, but they open their eyes and act poor. This inconsistency sends mixed signals to the formless substance, and mixed signals produce mixed results. The three steps must work together: the mental grasp in visualization, the language of ownership in speech and thought, and the attitude of the owner in bearing and behavior. When all three are aligned, your appropriation is complete, and physical manifestation becomes inevitable. Now let us address what happens after the technique. When you look at expensive things in the real world, in shop windows, in magazines, in the homes of others, you will be tempted to react with the old patterns. I can't afford that. That's for rich people, not for me. I wish I could have something like that. These reactions are ownership killers, returning you instantly to the state of the window shopper. You must catch them and replace them with the consciousness of the appropriator. When you see something desirable, do not say, "I can't afford that." This phrase reinforces lack and declares to the universe that you are not an owner, but a peasant gazing at the castle from outside the walls. Instead, try this: "That is potentially mine. I am one with the power that created it." This statement does not deny your current physical circumstances. It simply refuses to let those circumstances define your relationship to abundance. You are not claiming you will buy that specific item tomorrow. You are claiming your connection to the infinite source from which all things flow, including that item and everything else you might desire. This post-technique consciousness must become your default setting, not just when you are actively visualizing, not just when you feel inspired and focused, but throughout your ordinary day, in moments large and small. When you receive a bill, receive it as someone who has the resources to pay it. When you see a business opportunity, evaluate it as someone who has the capital to invest. When you dream about the future, dream as someone who has the power to make dreams reality. This consistent maintenance of the owner's consciousness is what separates those who occasionally feel good from those who actually transform their circumstances. The three steps together, mental grasp, language of ownership, and attitude of the owner, form a complete system for seizing your fortune. Each step addresses a different dimension of your being. The first transforms your inner visualization, the second transforms your speech and thought patterns, and the third transforms your daily behavior and bearing. When all three dimensions are aligned, your entire being becomes a magnet for wealth, and the formless substance flows toward you like water flows downhill. The glass between you and your fortune does not just develop a crack, it shatters entirely, and you step through into the life that was always waiting for you. Now we must confront the shadows that lurk in the corners of even the most sincere seeker's mind. You have learned the preparation, you have received the technique, but there are fatal mistakes, errors so subtle that most people commit them without even realizing what they have done, that can undo everything. These mistakes are like invisible hands that reach out and snatch the deed from your grasp the moment you think you have signed it. Understanding these pitfalls is not optional. It is essential to your success, because even the most powerful technique is worthless if you unknowingly sabotage it at every turn. The first fatal mistake is what I called earlier the ownership killer, and now I will reveal its true nature. This mistake goes by a name that sounds virtuous: humility. Or perhaps you know it as being realistic, or not getting your hopes up. Whatever label it wears, the underlying mechanism is the same. After a bold visualization, after a powerful session of appropriating wealth, a voice rises up within you and asks, "Who do you think you are?" Perhaps it adds, "You don't deserve this," or "This is wishful thinking," or "You need to come back to reality." This voice sounds like wisdom, it sounds like maturity, it sounds like the reasonable part of you protecting you from disappointment. But this voice is the thief that steals your deed. When you listen to it, when you give it credence, When you allow it to pull you back from your appropriation, you are tearing up the title you just signed. You are cancelling the order you just placed with the universe. You are stepping back from the glass you had almost passed through and returning to the cold sidewalk of lack. This voice is not wisdom. It is fear dressed in wisdom's clothing. It is not maturity. It is conditioning from a world that does not understand the laws of mind. It is not protection. It is self-sabotage of the most insidious kind. Let us examine where this voice comes from and why it feels so authoritative. From childhood, most of us were taught to be modest about our desires and humble about our capacities. We were told that wanting too much was greedy, that confidence was arrogance, that the tall poppy gets cut down. These lessons served a social function. They helped us fit in, not make others uncomfortable, not threaten the established order. But these lessons have nothing to do with the laws of mental creation, and when you carry them into your visualization practice, they poison every seed you plant. The voice of false humility is not your voice. It is the echo of all those who taught you to play small, and they taught you that because they themselves were playing small. Here is the truth that dissolves this unworthy reflex once and for all. Your worthiness comes from your existence, not from your achievements. Read that again. Your worthiness is not earned. It is not granted based on your good behavior or denied based on your failures. It is inherent in your nature as a conscious being, as an expression of the formless substance that creates and sustains all things. The universe did not make a mistake when it made you. You are not a cosmic accident that needs to apologize for existing. You are a deliberate expression of infinite intelligence, and that intelligence did not create you to be poor, limited, and apologetic. When the voice says, "Who do you think you are?" the answer is, "I am an heir to the infinite." When the voice says, "You don't deserve this," the answer is, "My deserving is not in question. Existence itself qualifies me." When the voice says, "Be realistic," the answer is, "The most realistic thing I can do is align myself with the laws of mind that actually govern manifestation." These are not affirmations to make yourself feel better. These are statements of objective truth about how consciousness relates to the formless substance. The voice of unworthiness is not telling you the truth. It is telling you lies that feel true because you have believed them for so long. Practically speaking, how do you handle this voice when it arises? First, recognize it for what it is, conditioning, not reality. When you hear, "Who do you think you are?" notice that this is a thought, not a fact. Notice that it arose from your programming, not from objective analysis. Second, do not argue with the voice or try to defeat it through logic. The voice is not interested in logic. It is an emotional reaction wearing the costume of reason. Third, simply return to your appropriation. Reaffirm your claim. State once again, "This is mine. I accept it. I am worthy by virtue of existence." Each time you return to your appropriation, instead of following the voice into doubt, you weaken the voice's power over you. Eventually, it fades to a whisper, and then to silence. The second fatal mistake is waiting for delivery to feel good. This mistake seems logical, which is why it traps so many sincere seekers. The logic goes like this: once I have the money, then I'll feel like a wealthy person. Once I own the house, then I'll feel like a homeowner. Once the manifestation arrives, then I'll have the emotional state appropriate to having it. This logic would be valid if the physical world were primary and consciousness were secondary. But Wattles taught, and all the great masters have confirmed, that consciousness is primary and the physical world is secondary. The sequence is reversed from what seems obvious. You must feel like the owner to get the money, not the other way around. The feeling of ownership is the cause, the money is the effect. This is the stumbling block that trips up virtually everyone who tries to apply these principles. They understand intellectually that they should visualize and affirm and believe. But at the emotional level, they are waiting for permission from the physical world to feel wealthy. They are saying to the universe, "Show me the money, and then I'll believe." But the universe responds, "Believe, and then I'll show you the money." It is a standoff that the universe always wins, because it operates according to laws that do not bend to human impatience. Think about what this means practically. When you visualize wealth but emotionally still feel poor, you are sending a mixed signal. Your conscious mind is saying, "I have abundance," while your emotional state is screaming, "I lack abundance." The formless substance responds to the stronger signal, and for most people, the emotional signal is far stronger than the conscious intention. This is why affirmations alone so often fail. The words say one thing, but the feelings say something entirely different, and feelings are the language that consciousness speaks most fluently. The solution is to generate the feeling state of ownership before the physical evidence arrives. This sounds impossible only because we are accustomed to feelings following facts. But feelings do not have to follow facts. They can precede and create facts. You have the power to choose your emotional state regardless of circumstances, and this power, once developed, is the master key to manifestation. When you can feel wealthy in the midst of apparent lack, you have mastered the principle that moves mountains. When you can feel secure in the midst of apparent uncertainty, you have cracked the code that the universe responds to. How do you generate the feeling of ownership before delivery? Return to the three-step technique with an emphasis on emotional vividness. During the mental grasp, do not merely see and touch and use the wealth. Feel the emotions you would feel if it were already yours. Feel the relief, feel the joy, feel the freedom, feel the security. During the language of ownership, let your words be charged with the emotional certainty of possession. When you say "I have," feel the having. During the attitude of the owner, carry the emotional signature of sufficiency throughout your day, not as a performance, but as a genuine cultivation of the state you are claiming. This is the refinement that separates those who get occasional results from those who manifest consistently. The occasional manifester applies the technique sometimes, waits for evidence, and then believes temporarily when evidence appears. The consistent manifester applies the techniques continuously, generates the feeling state regardless of evidence, and thereby creates an unbroken field of attraction that draws wealth steadily into their experience. The difference is not talent or worthiness. It is simply understanding and applying this principle about the sequence of feeling and manifestation. Now let us turn to the wisdom of the Master himself for guidance that will anchor these lessons deep in your consciousness. Wallace D. Wattles gave an instruction so powerful that if you followed it alone, ignoring everything else you have learned today, you would still find your fortune. He wrote, "See the things you want as if they were actually around you all the time. See yourself as owning and using them." Then he added the crucial qualifier, "Do not waver for an instant in the faith that it is real." Let us unpack this instruction with the attention it deserves. See the things you want as if they were actually around you all the time. Not just during your visualization sessions, not just when you are feeling inspired, all the time. This is a radical demand for consistent mental occupation of your desired state. When you wake in the morning, see the wealth around you. When you go about your daily tasks, see the wealth around you. When you lie down at night, see the wealth around you. This seeing is not hallucination. You are not denying the physical reality of your current surroundings. It is a double vision, a simultaneous awareness of what is physically present and what is metaphysically true. See yourself as owning and using them. The emphasis on ownership and use takes you beyond mere observation. You are not touring the museum of your future wealth. You are living in your actual home, using your actual possessions, making decisions about your actual resources. This is appropriation in action, the continuous exercise of the title deed you hold. Every time you see yourself owning, you reinforce your ownership. Every time you see yourself using, you deepen your possession. The mental image becomes more real with each repetition until it reaches a density that physical reality cannot ignore. Do not waver for an instant in the faith that it is real. Here is the qualifier that makes everything work or fail. Not a minute without faith. Not an hour without certainty. Not an instant without the unshakable knowing that what you see in your mind is as real as what you see with your eyes. More real, in fact, because it is the cause while physical appearance is only the effect. Wavering is the leak in the bucket that lets all the water drain out. You can pour faith into the bucket every morning, but if you waver throughout the day, you will find the bucket empty again by night. This instruction exposes why most people fail despite sincere effort. They see the things they want occasionally, during dedicated visualization time. They see themselves owning and using sometimes when they remember to do the exercises. And they waver constantly, buffeted by every doubt and every contrary appearance. They work hard at manifestation for 20 minutes and then undo all their work through 23 hours and 40 minutes of contrary thought and feeling. The mathematics of this approach do not favor success. Wattles is calling for a complete renovation of your mental life, not a minor addition to it. He is saying that your default consciousness, the state you inhabit when you are not thinking about anything in particular, must be the consciousness of wealth and ownership. Your mind at rest must rest in the awareness of abundance. Your thoughts, when undirected, must naturally drift toward possession rather than lack. This is not achieved overnight. It is the result of persistent practice, constant correction, and the gradual replacement of poverty thinking with prosperity thinking. Consider the practical application of not wavering for an instant. This means catching yourself every time you slip into doubt and immediately returning to faith. It means monitoring your thoughts throughout the day, not in an anxious or obsessive way, but with the gentle vigilance of a gardener watching for weeds. When you notice a thought of lack or doubt, you do not berate yourself. You simply replace it with a thought of abundance and ownership. Over time, this practice reshapes the landscape of your mind, and thoughts of abundance become as natural and automatic as thoughts of lack once were. The Master's instruction is also a test of your commitment. Anyone can maintain faith when circumstances are favorable, when signs and omens suggest that manifestation is imminent. But Wattles is asking you to maintain faith regardless of circumstances, to hold your mental image with unwavering certainty even when, especially when, physical reality seems to contradict it. This is the faith that moves mountains. This is the certainty that reshapes the universe. And it is available to you not because you are special, but because you are willing to follow the instruction without compromise. Let this teaching from the Master become your daily compass. When you are unsure whether you are practicing correctly, return to his words. Are you seeing the things you want as if they were around you all the time? Are you seeing yourself as owning and using them? Are you wavering, even for an instant, in the faith that it is real? If you can answer yes, yes, and no, then you are on the path. If any answer is wrong, you know exactly where to focus your attention. The Master has given you everything you need. What remains is the application. What we have been exploring is not isolated spiritual theory. It connects to principles that appear throughout human understanding, even in the realm of law. Consider the legal concept known as adverse possession, sometimes called squatters' rights. This principle states that if you occupy a piece of land openly and continuously for a specified period of time, you can eventually claim legal ownership of that land, even if you were not the original owner. The law recognizes that occupation, maintained over time, creates a form of title that can override even previous legal ownership. Now apply this principle metaphorically to the laws of mind. When you occupy a state of wealth openly and continuously in your consciousness, reality eventually yields the title to you. You literally squat in the state of wealth until it becomes legally yours, legally in the cosmic sense, recognized and enforced by the laws of mental creation. The parallel is striking and instructive. In physical law, what matters is continuous occupation. In mental law, what matters is continuous consciousness. In both cases, persistence creates ownership. Let us examine the requirements for adverse possession in physical law and see how they translate to mental appropriation. First, the occupation must be actual. You must physically be on the land, using it, treating it as your own. In mental terms, this corresponds to the mental grasp. You must actually occupy the wealthy state in your visualization, not merely think about occupying it. You must be in the experience, using the wealth, treating it as yours. Observation from a distance does not satisfy this requirement. Second, the occupation must be open and notorious, visible to others, not hidden or secret. In mental terms, this corresponds to the language of ownership and the attitude of the owner. Your appropriation of wealth should not be a secret you hide in the closet of your mind, never expressing itself in your speech or behavior. It should be open, reflected in how you talk and how you carry yourself. This openness is not about bragging. It is about the consistency between inner and outer that makes your claim solid and unassailable. Third, the occupation must be continuous, not sporadic visits, but ongoing presence. In mental terms, this corresponds to Wattles' instruction not to waver for an instant. You must maintain your mental occupation of the wealthy state continuously, not visiting occasionally and then returning to your habitual state of lack. The person who visits wealthy thinking once a week will never satisfy the requirement of continuous occupation. Only the person who lives there, who makes wealthy thinking their permanent residence, accumulates the time that leads to title. Fourth, the occupation must be exclusive. You must act as the sole owner, not sharing the claim with others or acknowledging a superior right. In mental terms, this means you must claim your wealth as yours, not as something you share with doubt or fear or unworthiness. You cannot appropriate wealth while simultaneously giving house room to beliefs that contradict your ownership. You must be the exclusive occupant of the state of abundance, having evicted all squatters of limitation from your mental property. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, the occupation must be hostile to the interest of the true owner, meaning you must act as if you have the right to be there regardless of any other claim. In mental terms, this does not mean hostility in the emotional sense, but rather the boldness we discussed earlier. You must claim your wealth boldly, as if you have the absolute right to it, without deferring to the apparent true owner of current circumstances. Your present lack has no superior claim to your consciousness. You are the rightful owner of abundance, and you must act accordingly. When all these requirements are met and maintained for sufficient duration, the law recognizes a transfer of title. The person who was once a trespasser becomes the legal owner. The land that belonged to someone else now belongs to them. This is not magic and it is not fraud. It is the recognition that continuous, visible, exclusive, hostile occupation creates a form of ownership that the law chooses to honor. The laws of mind operate by the same logic. When you meet the mental requirements and maintain them continuously, a transfer of title occurs. The wealth that seemed to belong to the future or to people luckier than you becomes yours. Reality recognizes your claim because you have satisfied the requirements. This principle also explains why some people struggle for years without results, while others seem to manifest rapidly. The slow manifestors are those who occupy the state of wealth sporadically, visiting on weekends like a vacationer, rather than living there like a resident. They accumulate no title because they never satisfy the requirement of continuous occupation. The rapid manifestors are those who move in immediately and stay, who make the state of wealth their permanent address from day one, who never doubt for an instant that they belong there. They accumulate title quickly because their occupation is complete and unbroken. Consider also how this principle addresses the question of how long will it take? In physical adverse possession law, the required period varies, sometimes 5 years, sometimes 20, depending on jurisdiction. In mental law, the required period depends on the completeness and consistency of your occupation. If you occupy the state of wealth fully, actually openly, continuously, exclusively, and boldly, the period can be remarkably short. If your occupation is weak or sporadic in any of these dimensions, the period extends, perhaps indefinitely. The timeline is not fixed by external forces. It is determined by the quality of your inner practice. This connection between legal principle and mental law should give you confidence that what you are doing is not fantasy. You are engaging with real principles that operate throughout the universe, principles that humanity has recognized and codified, even in our mundane legal systems. The universe has rules, and those rules can be learned and applied. You are not hoping for luck or praying for favor. You are systematically satisfying the requirements for a transfer of title, and when those requirements are fully met, the transfer is as certain as any legal transaction. Let me tell you now of a young entrepreneur who understood these principles and applied them with a boldness that most people lack. He needed a specific office building for his growing business. Not any building, but a particular one that he passed every day on his way to work. It was perfect in every way. The location was ideal, the size was exactly right, and the presence it would give his company would elevate him to an entirely new level. There was only one problem. He had no money. Not just insufficient money, no money. The building might as well have been a castle in the sky for how accessible it was to his current financial situation. Anyone operating from conventional thinking would have done what most people do, looked for cheaper alternatives, set aside the dream for someday when I can afford it, or simply resigned themselves to the gap between desire and possibility. But this young man had learned the principles of appropriation. He understood that the mental possession must precede the physical possession. He understood that waiting for the money before claiming the building was backwards. The claiming must come first, and then the money would follow. So he did something that seemed foolish, even delusional, to anyone who did not understand the science of mind. Every single day he walked past that building, not quickly, not glancing at it with longing, but slowly, deliberately, with intention. And as he walked, he mentally placed his furniture inside. He saw his desk by the window in the corner office. He saw his team working in the open floor plan he would create. He saw his name on the door, etched in elegant gold lettering. He felt the weight of the keys in his pocket, not imagined keys floating in his mind, but felt keys physical in their mental vividness, pressing against his thigh as he walked. He did not just visualize the building, he occupied it, completely and continuously, satisfying every requirement of mental adverse possession. He did this not for a week, not for a month, but for as long as it took. His physical circumstances did not change at first. He still had no money. The building remained owned by someone else, occupied by other businesses. To an outside observer, nothing was happening. But in the realm where true causation operates, everything was happening. The formless substance was receiving a clear, continuous, unwavering signal. This man owns that building. His mental deed was being filed in the cosmic courthouse. The transfer of title was in process. Then came the moment that the outside observer would call a miracle, but that the student of mind knows as simply the law working itself out. The landlord of that building, whom the young entrepreneur had never met, approached him. Not the other way around. The landlord came to him, as if drawn by invisible forces. The landlord had heard of the entrepreneur's growing business and had a proposal, a creative financing arrangement that would allow the young man to lease the building with zero money down, with payments structured around his future revenues. From a conventional standpoint, it made no sense. Why would a landlord take such a risk on someone with no capital? But from the standpoint of mental science, it made perfect sense. The mental possession had forced the physical possession. The inner title had demanded outer recognition. The universe had rearranged itself to honor the claim. What can we learn from this story? First, the specificity of the appropriation. The young man did not visualize a nice office someday. He claimed that building, that location, that specific piece of real estate. His mental image was clear and definite, exactly as Wattles instructed. Second, the completeness of the occupation. He did not just see the building. He placed his furniture, saw his name, felt the keys. He lived in it mentally before he lived in it physically. Third, the continuity of the practice. He did this every day, without wavering, without taking breaks to doubt whether it was working. Fourth, the boldness of the claim. He did not let his current lack dissuade him from claiming what he desired. He acted as if he had every right to that building, because he understood that he did. This story is not exceptional. It is illustrative. The same principle that worked for this entrepreneur will work for anyone who applies it with the same consistency and boldness. The specific form of the manifestation will vary. Perhaps for you it will be a different opportunity, a different doorway through which your claimed wealth arrives. But the underlying mechanics are identical. Mental possession forces physical possession. The clear image held with unwavering faith and purpose becomes the title deed that reality must honor. The formless substance has no choice but to fill the form presented to it by a consciousness that refuses to waver. Let this story be a seed planted in your imagination. Let it show you what is possible when you stop hoping and start claiming. The glass between you and your fortune exists only because you believe in it. The young entrepreneur walked past that glass every day and acted as if it were not there. He reached through it with his mind and took hold of what was his. And reality, having no argument against such complete appropriation, opened a door where none had existed before. This is your inheritance. This is your potential. This is the power that awaits your decision to use it. We have traveled together through the complete teaching of mental appropriation, from the window shopper's curse to the owner's ultimate victory. Now let us gather the threads and weave them into a final understanding that you can carry forward into every remaining day of your life. The synthesis is simple, though its implications are revolutionary. Wealth is not a reward for hard work. Wealth is not a gift bestowed on the lucky. Wealth is not a prize that some deserve and others do not. Wealth is a response to ownership. The universe gives you what you claim, not what you beg for. This principle overthrows everything most people believe about how prosperity works. They believe that you must earn wealth through effort, and effort certainly plays its role in the science of getting rich. But effort without ownership is like planting seeds in soil that has not been prepared. The seeds may struggle, and some may grow, but the harvest will be thin and uncertain. Ownership is the preparation of the soil. When you appropriate wealth in consciousness, when you seize it, claim it, occupy it, and refuse to waver, you prepare the ground into which your effort can plant seeds that yield abundantly. Consider the wealthy people you know or know of. Are they necessarily harder workers than the poor? In many cases, they work less while earning more. Are they necessarily smarter, more talented, more deserving? The evidence does not support such a conclusion. What distinguishes them, in the majority of cases, is a fundamental sense of entitlement to abundance. They expect wealth because they feel they are the kind of people who have wealth. This expectation is not arrogance, it is appropriation operating automatically, without conscious technique. They have claimed their fortune so naturally that they do not even realize they have claimed it. You are now learning to do consciously what they do unconsciously. The universe is not stingy. The formless substance from which all wealth flows is infinite. It cannot be depleted. It cannot run short. It cannot favor some and neglect others. Your poverty does not preserve abundance for someone else. Your wealth does not steal from another's share. The supply is limitless, and your claiming of your portion costs no one anything. Understanding this removes any guilt or hesitation you might feel about seizing your fortune boldly. You are not taking from others. You are allowing the infinite to express through you in its natural form of abundance. What happens when you fully integrate this synthesis? Your relationship to money and material things fundamentally transforms. You no longer chase wealth with the desperate energy of need. You attract wealth with the magnetic energy of ownership. You no longer hope for better circumstances someday. You recognize that you are the creator of your circumstances, and you create deliberately and confidently. You no longer ask the universe for permission to prosper. You exercise your divine right to claim what belongs to you by virtue of your existence. This is the transformation that Wattles promised, not just a change in technique, but a change in identity, from beggar to heir, from window shopper to owner. Now hear this message and let it penetrate to the deepest chambers of your being, for it carries the power to change everything if you allow it to. The glass window between you and your fortune is an illusion. It looks solid. It feels impenetrable. You have pressed against it so many times, convinced of its reality, that you have given up trying to pass through. But it is made of nothing more substantial than fear and hesitation. It has no material existence. It is a projection of your own doubt, a hologram generated by your belief in limitation. And you have the power, right now, in this moment, to dissolve it forever. Smash the glass. Not with physical force, but with mental certainty. Not with violence, but with the quiet power of absolute knowing. Reach out with your mind and take what is yours. Do not ask. Do not hope. Do not wait for the universe to decide whether you are worthy. You have already been deemed worthy by the very fact of your creation. You have already been given the title deed by the very fact of your existence. The only question is whether you will sign it and claim your property, or whether you will stand outside forever, watching through a window that exists only because you believe in it. The formless substance is waiting to be shaped. It is not passive, it is eager, it is not reluctant, It is infinitely willing. It desires to take the form of your wealth, your abundance, your prosperity. It is pressing against the boundaries of your consciousness, looking for the clear image, the unwavering faith, the absolute purpose through which it can flow into manifestation. You are not convincing a reluctant universe to give you something it wants to keep. You are opening a gate so that a river already straining against the dam can pour through into your life. The check is waiting to be signed. This is not metaphor. It is the most precise description possible of the situation you are in. Imagine an enormous check made out to you for any amount you can clearly conceive. The check is real. The funds exist. The only thing missing is your signature. Your signature is your faith. Your signature is your unwavering purpose. Your signature is your mental image, held with absolute certainty. When you sign, the check is valid, and the wealth begins its journey from the formless to the physical, from the invisible to the visible, from the potential to the actual. Pick up the pen of your will. Your will is the faculty that chooses, that decides, that commits. It is not wishful thinking. It is decisive action in the realm of mind. When you will something with complete commitment, without reservation or escape clause, you set forces in motion that cannot be stopped. The pen of your will is always in your hand. It is never lost, never out of ink, never broken. You have simply been hesitating to use it, afraid that signing the check is presumptuous or that the check might bounce. It will not bounce. The account of the infinite is never overdrawn. Sign your name in gold, not in pencil, which can be erased, not in ink, which can fade, in gold, which is eternal and unchangeable. When you sign with gold, you sign with the certainty that cannot be revoked, the faith that cannot be shaken, the purpose that cannot be diverted. Your signature in gold is your final answer to the question of whether you will claim your fortune. It is your declaration to the universe that the window shopping is over, the waiting is finished, the appropriation is complete. From this moment forward, you are not hoping for wealth. You are wealthy. The physical appearance will catch up. It has no choice. I leave you now with a challenge, a practical exercise that will translate everything you have learned into immediate action. I call it the Ownership Walk Challenge, and it will test and strengthen your ability to hold the consciousness of the owner in the face of apparent evidence to the contrary. Here is what you will do. Go for a walk in a wealthy neighborhood or through a high-end store. Choose a place where you will be surrounded by expensive things, beautiful homes, luxury items, the material evidence of abundance. As you walk, pay attention to your natural reactions. Most people, when they enter such environments, feel one of two things: envy or inadequacy. They see the beautiful homes and think, I wish I could live like this. They see the expensive items and think, I can't afford any of this. These reactions are the reactions of the window shopper, the outsider, the one who does not belong. Your challenge is to replace these reactions with the consciousness of the owner. As you look at the beautiful homes, instead of feeling envy or I wish, look at them and say internally, I accept this abundance. This is the level I belong to. Not, I want to belong to this level someday. Not, I hope I can afford this eventually. You belong here now. You accept this abundance now. Your current address may be different, but your true residence is in the state of abundance, and everything you see is simply a reflection of what is available to you. Practice the feeling of being the owner, not the tourist. A tourist walks through a wealthy neighborhood, feeling like an outsider, admiring what belongs to others, knowing they will return to their ordinary life when the tour is over. An owner walks through a wealthy neighborhood feeling at home, recognizing what belongs to them, knowing that this is the level at which they naturally operate. The difference is entirely internal. The external appearance is the same. But the internal difference changes everything about what opportunities appear, what doors open, what pathways become visible. As you do this walk, you will likely encounter resistance, the voice of unworthiness, the feeling of being a fraud, the discomfort of claiming a level you have not yet physically achieved. Good. This resistance is exactly what you need to overcome. Each time you feel the resistance and return to the ownership consciousness anyway, you strengthen your capacity to hold the state. Each time the voice says you don't belong here, and you answer, "I accept this abundance," you weaken the voice and strengthen your appropriation. Do this walk regularly. Do it until the ownership consciousness becomes natural, until you can walk through any environment without feeling less than, until the beautiful and expensive things of the world feel like yours. Not because you are arrogant, but because you have claimed your divine inheritance and you know that abundance is your birthright. If you are ready to stop looking and start owning, if you are prepared to smash the glass and seize your fortune, if you are committed to walking through life as an heir rather than a beggar, then I invite you to subscribe to the Master's Legacy and continue this journey of transformation. Every teaching we share is designed to equip you with the tools of mental creation, to reveal the secrets the Masters discovered, to guide you step by step from where you are to where you know you belong. Seize your fortune today. The universe is waiting. The deed is in your hands. The only question remaining is whether you will sign it. And only you can answer that question. Only you can choose. Only you can claim what is yours. Make the choice. Sign the deed. And step through the window into the life that has always been waiting for you on the other side.